Oh my fucking God. Well, maybe that was a little too hard.
Imagine unveiling a futuristic electric truck so striking that it commands the spotlight worldwide. Then picture that same vehicle abruptly seized by law enforcement in the United Kingdom, labeled unfit for public roads. That is what's happening to Tesla Cybertrucks in the UK. But this story is a bit complicated, and this video will take you from the shocking seizure to the hidden design challenges, financial fallout, and ultimately a glimpse into the future of electric vehicle innovation and why it all matters. What it means for the car you might drive next. Prepare to discover how one band can reshape our sense of mobility. Seized at midnight, the moment it all began. It was the kind of scene you'd expect in a high-budget science fiction film. Sharp edges, matte black panels, a futuristic silhouette cutting through the quiet streets of Greater Manchester. But this wasn't a movie set, and that was no special effects prop. It was a Tesla Cybertruck, massive, imposing, and unmistakable, gliding through British traffic like a spacecraft trying to blend in on cobbled roads. As the vehicle turned into a commercial district, its towering frame caught the attention of a patrol unit. Within minutes, the situation escalated from curiosity to confrontation. British police officers, trained to recognize vehicles that don't belong, executed a stop under the Road Traffic Act. What followed wasn't just a citation, it was a full vehicle seizure. Under the glow of flashing lights, the Cybertruck was impounded on the spot and transported away from the streets it was never meant to be on. The scene was captured by a stunned bystander, who uploaded a short, shaky clip to social media. In mere hours, it was everywhere, circulating across digital feeds, making headlines across Europe and North America. It wasn't just that a Tesla had been stopped, it was that this Tesla, the Cybertruck, Elon Musk's most hyped and divisive creation, had been physically removed by authorities. People were stunned, enthusiasts were outraged, and critics of the company saw it as vindication served cold in the British night. That brief clip didn't just go viral, it ignited something. In forums, people began dissecting the moment frame by frame. Why was it seized? Was this about insurance? Was it paperwork? Or was something bigger going on? Something beneath the surface? One detail stood out in particular: the license plate. Observers quickly noted that the truck wasn't UK registered. This immediately sparked questions. Who was the driver? How did they manage to bring it over? And most importantly, how did they think they'd get away with it? The story gained even more traction when a few close-up images appeared online, showing the Cybertruck on the back of a flatbed, being transported by authorities like a trophy taken from battle. With every photo came another wave of speculation and meme content. Elon's tank banned from Britain, read one caption. Not road ready, but definitely roast ready, joked another. Within 24 hours, the incident had crossed from tech circles into mainstream conversation. And yet, while the image of the Cybertruck being impounded was shocking enough, what pushed the story further into global headlines wasn't just the visual, it was the question everyone was asking. Why was it there in the first place? Why was someone in the UK even driving a Cybertruck when it hadn't been officially released in Europe? That question led to the next revelation, and a very different kind of mistake: the failed loophole that made things worse. The answer, as it turned out, wasn't a publicity stunt or a black market import. It was a calculated decision, one made by the driver, in an attempt to bypass the standard process of road certification. According to reports, the driver had legally purchased the Cybertruck abroad, registered it under a foreign authority, and then shipped it to the United Kingdom, hoping to drive it on British roads under temporary foreign registration. This isn't illegal by default. In fact, it's been done with high-end cars and classic imports for decades. But there's a critical requirement for this kind of maneuver to work: a document known as the Certificate of Conformity. Think of this certificate as a vehicle's passport. It verifies that a vehicle meets all required environmental and safety standards for use within the United Kingdom and the broader European Union. Without it, the vehicle is, by definition, a non-compliant machine, unapproved for public roads, regardless of origin. When the police stopped the driver and asked for documentation, everything came down to that one piece of paper. And it wasn't just missing, it was unattainable, not because the driver forgot it, but because Tesla had never produced one for the Cybertruck in Europe. The vehicle, in its current form, simply did not and could not meet the necessary standards to receive certification. The entire import operation rested on a hope that authorities wouldn't notice, or perhaps wouldn't care. They did both. Once police officers realized the Cybertruck lacked a valid certificate of conformity, the outcome was inevitable. Registration abroad didn't matter. Personal ownership didn't matter. The truck was taken not as a symbol, but as a legal necessity. And just like that, the loophole failed. The result was a public relations firestorm, not just for the driver, but for Tesla. If one Cybertruck could be seized so publicly, it meant no one in the United Kingdom could drive one legally. And if they tried, the consequences would be swift and humiliating. Still, this wasn't just about paperwork. Beneath the procedural details lay something much more profound, a fundamental clash in ideologies. And the shock of that collision would reverberate through the tech and automotive worlds alike. Why UK law was always going to clash with Musk's vision. To understand why this was inevitable, you have to look beyond the truck itself and focus on the two forces that collided on that Manchester street. On one side, a system of governance rooted in centuries of legal evolution. On the other, a company built on speed, disruption, and defiance. In the United Kingdom, the road isn't just a path, it's a highly regulated public space, governed by meticulous standards. These rules are not only strict, but deeply embedded into the national infrastructure of safety and public protection. From visibility requirements to structural tolerances, every regulation serves a clear purpose, minimizing harm. Tesla, on the other hand, is built in the image of its founder, fast-moving, rule-challenging, and determined to deliver the future. Whether the world is ready or not, it thrives on friction, on headlines, on breaking molds, and for years that worked brilliantly in markets like the United States, where innovation often gets a wide berth before regulators step in. But in the United Kingdom, things move differently. Road safety is proactive, not reactive. Compliance is not negotiable, and new technologies are expected to conform to long-standing frameworks, not the other way around. So when the Cybertruck entered this environment, the result wasn't just legal resistance, it was cultural rejection. The UK wasn't surprised by the truck's design or power. What surprised them was the assumption that something so obviously outside their standards would be allowed in without question. And that's what this clash was really about. Not steel or lights or steering columns, but something more fundamental. The idea that rules can be rewritten by innovation alone. In Britain, that's simply not how the road works. The public reacts. Elon's silence, fan outrage, and media frenzy. As expected, the internet lit up. Enthusiasts called it an overreach. Critics called it long overdue. And somewhere in the middle, the curious public watched the drama unfold. Within hours of the impoundment, Tesla forums, Reddit threads, and social platforms were flooded with speculation, anger, and sarcasm. Some users posted mock images of the Cybertruck in prison stripes. Others turned the incident into a rallying cry, declaring that regulators were stifling progress. And then there was Elon Musk, uncharacteristically silent. For a CEO known for weighing in on everything from cryptocurrency memes to global geopolitics, his lack of comment was notable. It fueled the perception that Tesla hadn't just lost a legal battle, it had lost control of the narrative. Meanwhile, news outlets picked up on the tension. Interviews with traffic experts, law enforcement officials, and tech analysts began to surface. Headlines varied, but the message was consistent. This wasn't just about one vehicle. It was about a company that had pushed the boundaries too far, and a country that refused to bend. But the most interesting reactions didn't come from the headlines or the influencers. They came from ordinary people. Some who supported Tesla began to wonder if the Cybertruck really belonged in cities filled with cyclists and narrow lanes. Others who had dismissed the vehicle as hype began asking real questions about how much power innovation should have. The moment had gone from viral to vital, and as the world debated the seizure, the real story was sitting under the hood. The blade-like body, a deadly violation of UK safety law. At first glance, the Cybertruck looks indestructible, an angular beast carved from steel. But beneath that bold exterior lies a serious problem that immediately triggered legal alarms in the United Kingdom. Its edges are too sharp. United Kingdom law requires that all external vehicle parts be rounded with a minimum 3.2mm radius to reduce injury in collisions involving pedestrians or cyclists. The Cybertruck doesn't just ignore this, it does the exact opposite. Its rigid, unrounded corners and blade-like panels pose a severe threat to anyone struck by it. The reason is simple. Rounded edges deflect and absorb force. The Cybertruck's edges concentrate it, and unlike decorative spoilers or body kits, these aren't accessories. They are part of the vehicle's core structure. Modifying them isn't just a design revision. It would undermine the entire exoskeleton. Making the truck compliant would mean re-engineering its identity. This is not a minor design oversight. It's a direct safety threat, and unfortunately for Tesla, it's only one of several. Lights that blind, not guide. The Cybertruck's LED light bar is stunning, clean, futuristic, and unmistakable. But in the United Kingdom, that design turns it into a liability. United Kingdom regulations specify how lights must be positioned, separated, and backed up. Indicators, brake lights, and running lights must all be distinct, not merged into a single continuous strip. The Cybertruck violates this principle in 6 different ways. The result is a vehicle that looks cool but creates confusion on the road. That's especially dangerous in British weather, where fog and rain already limit visibility. The light bar's brightness and shape can obscure distance, mislead drivers, or reduce reaction times. Worse, the system relies entirely on software. There is no manual override or backup. If it fails, the truck effectively disappears from view. Tesla holds patents for compliant lighting systems but didn't use them here. Fixing this issue would require structural redesigns, not just new bulbs. And in the United Kingdom, that makes the current setup illegal. Steering by software, the system no one can inspect. Traditional vehicles use physical linkages to connect the steering wheel to the wheels. The Cybertruck doesn't. It uses steer-by-wire, an entirely digital system that sends electronic signals instead of relying on mechanical parts. That might sound advanced, and it is, but there's a catch. United Kingdom law requires steering systems to be physically inspected. Safety inspectors must be able to verify reliability using hands-on checks. But Tesla's digital system offers nothing to inspect. It cannot be tested using the tools or methods required under current law. In practice, that means it cannot be certified, not because it's broken, but because it exists outside the boundaries of what the law can measure. In regulatory terms, untestable means untrustable. Until United Kingdom regulations evolve, or Tesla introduces a physical backup system, the Cybertruck's steering mechanism alone disqualifies it from legal operation on British roads. It simply doesn't fit, the truck too big for British roads. Even if the Cybertruck passed every safety test and inspection, it would still have one inescapable flaw. It doesn't fit. At roughly 2.2 meters wide, it leaves only about 40 centimeters of clearance on either side, in a standard 3-meter United Kingdom lane. That's not enough room to safely navigate many city streets, country roads, or historic districts. Parking is a challenge. Corners are hazards, and the sheer size makes it intimidating for other drivers and pedestrians alike. The problem isn't just width, it's weight. Fully loaded, the Cybertruck can exceed the 3.5-ton limit allowed for holders of a standard Category B license. That reclassifies it as a commercial vehicle, requiring a Category C1 license. For most people, that means extra training, testing, and insurance just to legally drive their own car. This is not a lifestyle vehicle in the United Kingdom. It's a logistical burden. It doesn't match the road layouts, licensing rules, or everyday needs of British drivers. And all of this leads to a much bigger problem. Tesla didn't just design a vehicle that fails to meet regulations. They created one fundamentally incompatible with an entire country's infrastructure. Ignored from the start, Tesla never planned for the UK. Imagine designing a revolutionary electric vehicle that turns heads, wins hearts, and grabs headlines, then quietly skipping one of the fastest-growing markets on the planet. That is exactly what Tesla did with the Cybertruck. And what is most surprising, it was not an accident. From the very beginning, all signs point to a conscious decision to deprioritize the United Kingdom and much of Europe entirely. Tesla's launch strategy for the Cybertruck was centered on spectacle, not subtlety. The company unveiled a vehicle that looked like it had been pulled from a dystopian video game. Sharply angled, imposing, and unapologetically large. Everything about it screamed American excess, from its dimensions to its powertrain. And while this aesthetic and performance narrative resonated strongly in the United States, it was clearly out of sync with the vehicle norms, road dimensions, and design expectations in much of Europe. But beyond looks, Tesla's rollout decisions tell the real story. There was no official pre-order campaign for the Cybertruck in the United Kingdom, no localized launch events, no targeted marketing toward European customers. Instead, Tesla doubled down on its core markets, the United States, Canada, and Australia. These regions share wide roads, less restrictive vehicle regulations, and a cultural affinity for utility vehicles. In contrast, Europe's cities are dense, their roads narrow, and their consumers skeptical of oversized vehicles. Tesla seemed to have known this and quietly accepted it. Internal memos and public interviews from Tesla leadership show that early compliance planning for European markets was either delayed or deprioritized. The team focused instead on overcoming American production hurdles, refining the manufacturing of the stainless steel body, and adapting battery design for North American driving conditions. It was not about forgetting Europe. It was about choosing to not include it in the first place. This becomes even clearer when you look at Tesla's vehicle compliance timelines. For nearly all of its previous models, the company worked to get certifications in tandem across key global markets. The Model 3 and Model Y, for example, were greenlit in the United States and Europe almost simultaneously. The Cybertruck broke that pattern. It launched with no timeline for European approval, no evidence of active testing in United Kingdom or European Union laboratories, not even a hint of coordination with local regulatory bodies. For a company that has mastered global product rollouts, that omission speaks volumes. And yet, this was not just about saving time or reducing complexity. It was about brand storytelling. The Cybertruck was positioned as a rebellion against the norms of modern automotive design. It was a rolling statement piece, an aesthetic and ideological departure from the safe, rounded, regulation-friendly vehicles dominating European streets. Including the United Kingdom in that launch plan would have meant compromising that story from the beginning. What is most ironic is that the Cybertruck's rejection in the United Kingdom became a bigger story than any successful launch. But behind the headlines and the drama, what it truly exposed was not a design flaw, but a strategic one. £450 million market vanishes overnight. When most companies get banned from a market, they fight back. They appeal, redesign, relaunch. But in Tesla's case, the response to the United Kingdom's rejection of the Cybertruck was silence. And that silence speaks louder than any legal filing. Because when the Cybertruck was declared unfit for British roads, Tesla did not just lose access to a market, it walked away from hundreds of millions in potential sales. The numbers paint a sobering picture. The United Kingdom's electric vehicle market grew by more than 30% over the past year alone. New registrations surged past 320,000, with a clear upward trend continuing into the next fiscal year. While pickup trucks still represent a small portion of this pie, less than 1%, the premium electric market has seen outsized growth, especially in major metro areas where status vehicles are often second cars. Based on pre-existing interest, analyst projections suggested that a United Kingdom compliant Cybertruck could have captured between 10,000 and 15,000 unit sales annually. With an average transaction price exceeding £60,000 per unit, that adds up to a lost revenue opportunity of more than £450 million over a 3-year launch period. That does not include accessory sales, service packages, or long-tail value through software updates and upgrades. And then there are the indirect costs. The brand halo Tesla has in Europe is closely tied to its image as a modern, smart, and forward-thinking company. When the Cybertruck was seized and banned, that halo took a hit. Online forums and electric vehicle communities across the continent lit up with criticism, not just of the truck, but of the company's judgment. Even loyal Tesla owners began questioning whether the automaker was losing its grip on global relevance. From an investor's point of view, this kind of market rejection matters. Tesla's valuation has long been tied to its growth potential, not just current sales. And when one of the largest, wealthiest, and fastest-growing electric vehicle markets closes its doors, even temporarily, that vision becomes harder to defend. It is not just about the missed sales. It is about the missed story, the momentum, the expansion, the global reach. In walking away from the United Kingdom without a plan, Tesla left more than money on the table. It left its reputation. European automakers quietly win the war. While Tesla stumbled in its Cybertruck rollout, its European rivals were quietly executing a completely different playbook. Hyundai, Volkswagen, and BMW did not chase spectacle. They chased compliance, and it paid off. The Hyundai Ioniq 5, for instance, was developed with United Kingdom and European Union regulations baked into its DNA. Its lighting system, software protocols, and structural design were all tailored to meet legal benchmarks before production even began. No retrofits, no last-minute delays. Just an electric vehicle that worked everywhere. Volkswagen's ID.4 took a similar path. Rather than designing for flash, it was built to scale across multiple markets with minimal adaptation. Every element of its engineering was created to clear regulatory hurdles in Germany, France, the Netherlands, and the United Kingdom without breaking a sweat. And BMW? Their electric lineup has been a masterclass in precision planning. The iX, the i4, and the upcoming i5 were all launched in tandem with local market rollouts. That means local charging infrastructure, legal certification, driver training programs, and customer support were aligned from day one. These brands were not chasing headlines, they were capturing market share. While Tesla's Cybertruck struggled to clear a single inspection, these vehicles were being delivered, test-driven, and praised across showrooms in London, Amsterdam, Berlin, and Madrid. And with every missed opportunity on Tesla's part, these companies widened the gap. Not just a truck ban, a rejection of Tesla's philosophy. The Cybertruck was never just a truck, it was Elon Musk's statement, a rolling rejection of the status quo. Its ban in the United Kingdom was not simply a policy failure. It was a symbolic moment, a collision between ideology and governance. Tesla has always thrived by pushing boundaries. From the touchscreen-dominated dashboards to over-the-air updates, the company has redefined what a car can be. But with the Cybertruck, Tesla did something different. It did not just innovate, it defied. It dared regulators to catch up. And in the United States, that approach worked. In the United Kingdom, it did not. This ban represents more than a legal setback. It reflects a growing global tension between disruptive ambition and collective safety. For the first time in Tesla's history, a major government did not just resist innovation. It outright rejected the philosophy behind it. And that is what makes this moment so important. Because it is no longer just about Tesla's ability to build bold products. It is about the world's willingness to accept them. Could Tesla actually build a UK-compliant Cybertruck? Some might wonder if there is a viable path forward for Tesla to reintroduce its futuristic truck in the United Kingdom without repeating past missteps. Hypothetically, the company could pursue a complete overhaul of specific design elements, employing careful attention to exterior geometry and internal architecture. It might involve fabricating new chassis configurations, recalibrating weight distribution, and implementing alternative materials that balance durability with pliability. Experts suggest this kind of project could exceed 5 years of development time, all while demanding significant financial resources. Even if the results satisfied every regulation, the brand identity of this vehicle could change. Fans who admired its radical look and raw utility might feel it lost its original essence. Meanwhile, potential buyers who had been skeptical could see these modifications as a reassuring sign. The real question is whether Tesla would commit to such an extensive redesign. Some analysts believe that preserving global prestige outweighs the cost. Others suggest that meeting strict guidelines in the United Kingdom runs counter to the truck's original ethos. Without referencing any prior setbacks, it becomes clear that deciding to build a compliant version is not merely an engineering exercise. It is also about whether Tesla is willing to compromise on a statement that once defined its bold aesthetic. Why this story affects your next vehicle purchase. Although the conversation surrounding this situation has mostly centered on a single brand and a single vehicle, it ultimately raises a broader issue that impacts drivers everywhere. As design, technology, and environmental considerations evolve, new standards are set for what qualifies as a safe and efficient car. Manufacturers worldwide are scrutinizing how to meet regulations, adopt new materials, and deliver advanced software features. For the everyday person, this means that tomorrow's showrooms could feature vehicles shaped more by collaborative thinking between engineers and legal experts than by unfiltered creativity. This shift may influence the size of the cars you see parked outside suburban homes, the cost of maintenance, and even the way you charge your battery. More stringent rules could result in safer roads, but they might also reduce the variety of options for those seeking something out of the ordinary. Ultimately, the future of motoring depends on reconciling genuine innovation with wide-ranging consumer needs. Whether you are dreaming of an all-electric sport utility or a compact commuter, this story highlights how regulations, market forces, and bold ambitions intersect to guide the choices that will soon arrive in dealerships. By the time you are ready for your next purchase, the vehicles on offer may look and feel drastically different, shaped by lessons learned from those who tested the boundaries. So what do you think? Will car manufacturers continue pushing boundaries, or will safety and regulation take the lead in future designs? How will this shift affect your next vehicle choice? Drop your thoughts and questions in the comments below. Let's keep the conversation going.